Hello, and thank you for coming to hear my speech today. Today, we're going to talk about and discuss the morality of the capital punishment and whether or not it should be allowed to still exist. Capital punishment has been around as long as humans have walked the earth and lived in societies. No other form of life as we know it has a system in place to punish those who have committed heinous crimes. Therefore, capital punishment is a human exclusive form of punishment. I firmly believe that the capital punishment should exist in cases of murder as long as there is enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. An eye for an eye. I stress, though, that the evidence must be clearly present and that no stones are left unturned because in the past there have been times where the juror was wrong, which resulted in an innocent person being put to death. In 2017, San Antonio news anchor Delaney Matthew reported of a case involving a Mexican cartel member dismembering a 6-year-old girl and making her parents watch his crime. This crime occurred in 2013, and following the murder of the child, the father was forced to watch his wife die before getting killed himself. The anchor goes on to list off his long history of criminal activity and reveals that the murder count is to be at least 29 victims. Shockingly, in Texas of all places, this man wasn't given the death penalty, but was given a life sentence instead. The murder of an innocent child, in my opinion, is grounds for an automatic execution, but the fact that there was enough evidence of killing nearly 30 people should have made that decision easy. All right, I'm now going to show you guys a video of the justice system failing an innocent man, just to give an example.
Meanwhile, an Oklahoma man is walking
You
free
guys can hear
after
it?
spending 5 decades behind bars for a crime that he didn't commit. An Oklahoma judge exonerated Glenn Simmons. He was convicted in 1974 of a deadly shooting at a liquor store. But the judge found key evidence that would have cleared Simmons' name was not handed over to his lawyers. He is the longest imprisoned U.S. inmate to ever be exonerated.
All right, yeah. So researchers at the Death Penalty Information Center estimate that since 1973, at least 200 people who had been wrongfully convicted and sentenced to death in the United States have been exonerated. Although this number seems small, that's 200 people plus their families whose lives have been completely altered. Luckily, those people had the support needed to have their cases reviewed by the proper channels in order to have their freedom back. Now think about all the other inmates on death row and how unlucky they were to be executed if they were innocent. This is why the topic of capital punishment is tricky, but I believe that it should still exist due to the nature of certain crimes. If there wasn't a deterrent set in place, then society would probably become a scary place to live.
Meanwhile, in Oklahoma,
All right, so what is the value of life and does it trump over the act of capital punishment? The value of life, as we know, is one of, if not most important things in the world. If we weren't alive, then we wouldn't be speaking about this, right? Death is absolute, and so it begs the question if capital punishment is ethical as it's the ending of one's life. The notion or this notion is subjective, and everyone has an opinion that is right to them. In a newspaper article recanting the vicious murder by John William King, the author, Eric Zor, states that he wishes nothing less than the most brutal methods of torture and capital punishment to be used on King, but admits that his feeling violates the moral notion that the preservation of human life is our highest value. You see, John William King was a racist who tied a black male to his vehicle and dragged him to death. During the trial, he mocked the victim's family by smirking and swearing obscenities towards them. In this case, it's easy to see that some people shouldn't be allowed to continue living. The value of life is supreme. But if one takes the life of another in any situation that isn't self-defense or an accident, then they've rightfully forfeited their life. With all that being said, yes, capital punishment does trump the value of life if it's in a case where there is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. All in all, capital punishment is a tricky subject, but it is a necessity for our society. If it wasn't in place, there would be less of a deterrent for evil acts to take place. It's important to remember, though, that capital punishment should only be enacted if all the pieces to the puzzle are found in the investigation. There should be no evidence that is wishy-washy, and it should all be readily available for other agencies to cross-examine it. If there is a shred of what ifs, then the prosecutors need to take a step back and reconfigure their findings just in case they've got an innocent person on trial. We must also remember that the value of life is only valuable to those who value the lives of others. If someone cuts short the life of another, then they've lost the right to theirs. All right. Well, thanks for coming to my speech. That's all I've got for you guys today. Hope you guys have a good one.